Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we have the Interstate Billing Service panel. And Ted, lots of exciting things with Dave Schell on the horizon for dealers.
It is. Dave Schell has been making a name, a bigger name for himself at Interstate Billing. Isabella Stevens is with us also from Northwood University. Welcome, Isabella. And Dave, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks, Ted. Thanks, Sarah. Hi, Isabella.
Hi,
Um,
Dave. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
So
I
what we've done is we've put together, or we've asked actually Isabella and the Northwood students up in Midland, Michigan, Dave, to put together some questions that we'd like to ask you today for the Fixed
Okay.
Ops Roundtable that pertain to our Fixed Ops community. And if it's okay, we'd like to ask Isabella to go ahead with the first question for you, Dave.
Yeah, of course. Dave, I was just wondering, you've said before that a lot of dealerships are basically acting like a bank for their customers. Why do you think that mindset still exists in 2026, and what is it actually costing dealerships?
It's an old mindset. It's not broke. We don't need to fix it. If a dealer's probably has 500K in wholesale receivables, realistically, it's costing them thirty to $40,000 a year plus lost opportunities when you really break it down and look at it.
And Dave, wholesale parts it's really a cash flow business as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. A lot of guys will build a successful wholesale parts department and then they create a AR monster.
Well, Dave, on that subject, when a parts department is managing their own receivables, what are the hidden costs or risks that most operators completely underestimate?
Well, the biggest thing that I've noticed on the dealers I've set up is when you really look at the labor that they have in it, they've got capital drag, they've got risk, they've got scalability, and there's the cash sitting out, the staff's tied up, and basically their margins are leaking.
Mm. So, would you say that interstate billing really frees up your team to focus more on the customers?
Absolutely. And it relieves the whole cash flow process and developing the relationships. You're not, anybody on your team doesn't have to call looking for payment. We take care of everything.
Oh, wow. That's really convenient. That's great.
And Dave, the people in the parts department, they're not bill collectors. They're salespeople. They're selling product. Talk to us about that because, like Isabella said, great question by the way, Isabella. It lets them focus on what they're supposed to do.
Yes, it definitely lets them focus on you know, it definitely focuses them on where they can do some generating of revenue than chasing money. And that's the biggest thing that you'll see is it puts them in a sticky situation where you always want to be the dealer or the guy at the dealer that takes care of the customer or client. And you don't want to have to call and ask them where their payment is or deal with any of that. And that's where we can step in and help them out.
And Dave, Interstate has done this for a long time, specifically in that dealership category. Tell us about that if you don't mind.
Yes, they started out, I believe, 42 years ago, and it was their first client was an new car dealer, and they bought wholesale receivables, and since then we're in every market that we do funding for. That's a B2B AR business.
Mm.
I have a question for you, Dave. For the dealers watching today who are in the wholesale parts business, some might be worrying about outsourcing billing could hurt their relationships because now we've got another party involved, right? What do you
Right.
actually see happen when Interstate
Well,
Billing Service steps
yeah.
in?
So, I mean, what actually really happens is it improves the consistency. Your statements are there every time. You'll notice that it also removes any of the friction with the dealership having to call for the payment or the guy selling the parts becoming the bill collector, and it often grows the wholesale parts department.
Mm.
You'll definitely see that because we're a little bit more lenient on our credit guidelines.
Oh, interesting. Now, Dave, if I were to just walk into a dealership today, what are the kind of warning signs that their receivables process is broken in that dealership?
So the biggest thing you'll see is the aging on all the wholesale accounts. When you look over in the columns on the right, when they're past 30 days, they're actually, at that point, they've become the bank. Inconsistent billing, you'll notice, definitely the write offs and charge offs. And then you do have the managers and the salespeople chasing money.
Mhm.
And Sarah, I'm just envisioning the office manager or the controller probably coming out to the parts manager or wholesale parts manager uh, at about that 31-day mark because that's really when everything starts to be affected.
It is, Ted, and Dave. As Ted mentioned, I mean, these are important pieces that accounting and really just growing the business. These are all factors that become even more critical when receivables are managed poorly. So, how much are poor receivables actually holding dealerships back from growing their wholesale parts
Well,
business?
I mean, when you really look at it, it limits the cash flow of the dealership, depending on where your receivables are setting. Uh, Capture inventory, your volume, and definitely hurts expansion. I mean, at the end of the day, when you do a cost comparison or analysis of what it costs for interstate billing to carry your receivables and fund your dealership in 24 hours, you'll notice that it's it's virtually probably depending on your dollar amount that you're carrying. It oftentimes they'll notice that it actually is a cost-effective way to come to interstate billing and offset their AR.
It's amazing to hear these pieces. From the business side of the equation, Ted. A lot of dealerships are being more and more mindful about what their expenses are, how this all connects together, and wholesale parts is a big conversation in the industry.
It's a huge conversation, and Sarah, there's more focus than ever. You and Isabella and Dave, we're all seeing it on parts, and parts is really the driver. Okay, out there. Um, Dave, what about dealers and folks in the dealership who say, "Well, we've always done it this way." Why rock the boat, right? Why,
Yeah,
why
sure.
make any changes until something big happens?
That's
Tell us
it.
why.
Yeah, that that's what I hear a lot, and it works. Yeah, but it's inefficient. It's not the best use of your cash or your time for your team. The biggest thing is when you bill that invoice. Besides that, we do buy the your AR up front, but then after that, moving forward, you have money in the bank every day in less than 24 hours. So every day it's constant cash flow. And once that part's invoiced, at that point, you're done with it. And we take it from there. We make all the statements, we reconcile the month in, we do everything for the dealership.
Dave, is it hard to get set up and get started?
No,
How does Interstate do that?
it's really simple, Ted. It's a matter of getting your aging together, seeing what exactly we're going to buy, and then filling out a few forms. It's as easy as probably less than buying a home or a car. I mean, it's no time at all.
That's incredible. And David, why do you think that, collecting payments is such a big problem for teams to handle in dealerships?
The biggest thing is makes the employees or the team they're uncomfortable. It's inconsistent, and salespeople don't want to chase the money. At the end of the day, they want to. I think a lot of people see that it's not a good fit. Let's say being the collector and the salesperson, there's definitely a controversy.
Yeah,
Dave,
and I
go ahead.
think when you have to kind of wear multiple hats in the dealerships, that's when things, start to slip through and you start to have problems arise. So having, IBS come in and handle it fully for the dealership, that, you know, helps out the dealership in the long run because you're not dealing with these problems that are coming up from, slip ups from, like you said, salesmen that really their job shouldn't be payments.
Definitely, you're correct, Isabella. That is a very good topic, and I think when it's a multi-line dealership or they have a lot of different dealerships, it basically simplifies the process. For if there are 10 line or 10 rooftops or whatever it is, at the end of the day, they don't do it the same. They receive the payment, the billing, and they have one point of contact with us. We have a client experience team that will work with the dealerships. And so it really simplifies them having to call multiple rooftops.
Yeah, streamlines everything. That's incredible.
Hey, Dave, if I'm the parts manager, I also want to have a good relationship with the controller and the office manager. Talk to us about how this can actually positively impact that relationship because I want to keep the office manager happy.
Well, it definitely it's faster cash, it's better visibility, and at the end of the day, your team can focus on growing your business and doing things that generate revenue. And we're simplifying the process, and I'll go back to the old saying: everybody pays till they don't. And if you've got your write offs, your charge offs, everything else that you see, or I have in my 30 plus years on the back end of the business and wholesaling dealers, it's there. It's a matter if you look at it or not. When you take it all in, we actually do billing better. It's the one thing we do, and that's all we do, and we're good at it.
This is incredible stuff, Dave. Thinking about how this is so impactful for dealerships. And Ted, it really prevents the dealership from arbitrarily, going and collecting, more aggressively with certain people versus others. This simplifies that entire process, and it takes it out of the team's responsibility and allows them to do what they do best, which is serving their customer.
Sarah, that's a great point. Um, Dave, I'm wondering also what do you see as like is the first thing that the wholesale parts team notices or the teams notice internally when they're no longer handling the receivables themselves? What have you seen in your experience?
What you'll see is the business grows. Yeah, they can focus on tasks that are, like I said, that generate revenue. And the biggest thing is it decompresses with the slow pay or no pay. You don't have your salespeople or the parts manager out chasing money. We take care of it, and we don't charge back on the funding if it goes through interstate billing and you're paid on it on an open account, that those parts are insured. If you've got $1 million out on the street and they're if we buy your receivables, those are ours. When we pay you, we don't charge you back if we don't get paid. That is the insurance on the back end of the business that nobody sees, or I don't get that far in talking. Uh, but it's basically a floor plan for the fixed ops wholesale parts side.
That's a great point. Sarah, we talk a lot with dealers about their inventory, and they're talking about used car inventory, right? And they're very conscious of that. But the parts inventory, and of course, later in the year we talk about things like obsolescence and all. But these are huge receivables, and the dealer has a lot of cash tied up in these parts, Sarah.
They do, Ted, and as we think about, so many organizations are looking to add rooftops and expand their business operations into things like parts e-commerce and other online components to expand their footprint. This is an important thing. You have to have your books correct, and Dave, this is a fantastic way for dealerships to really optimize the receivables portion of their business.
Yes, definitely is. It's if it's really something the dealers need to look at when you really break it down dollar for dollar. Interstate billing is a very good choice uh, when you really look at what we do and what we provide for a fee less than a credit card, to remove all the exposure, to take care of all the financial risk, the statements, the slow pay, the no pay. It's quite the package.
Dave, I'm thinking that a lot of our audience has not even been aware this is available for their wholesale parts as an option to collect receivables. If people watching this today at dealerships have questions or want to reach out with specifics about how this would apply to them, Dave, can they do that with you? And what's the next step? How does that work?
Absolutely. They can email me at daveshell@interstatebilling.com, or my phone number is 314-565-0512, and I'll be reach right back out to them, and we can go from there, talk about it and see if we're a fit.
And Dave, I know there's a lot of industries that, you know, use different services to help collect receivables. Again, Interstate is squarely in that automotive space and in wholesale parts. So this is a real easy thing for dealers to understand and get their arms around.
Yes, very easy thing for them to understand. It is a new concept for some dealers. They think of it as just a billing company. Um, Hopefully, you did get the footage that I sent of our building, and it's 36,000 modern piece of art, just like the nice car dealers that we go to with the fixed ops. It's a beautiful building and facility. It's modern, and we help to grow your business.
They're a outstanding company, everybody. Interstate Billing, highly recommended. Dave Schell, reach out to him with questions on how he can help you and Interstate can help you with your receivables. Interstatebilling.com. Dave Schell's email is scrolling at the bottom along with his contact information and cell phone. And he's very active on social media, I see as well. Dave, thank you for all you do for the industry, and thank you for helping our dealers.
Appreciate you having me on. Anybody, please feel free, reach out and we'll talk about it and see if it's a good choice for your business.
And Isabella, thank you for asking questions on behalf of the students at Northwood as well.
Yeah, that was nice.
Of course. Thank you for having us and giving us this opportunity.
All right. Sarah Vantine, Isabella Stevens, thank you so much. Dave Schell from Interstate Billing Service here with us today on the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you.